Hey everybody, how are you doing today? So stay with me in this video because I'm going to tell you exactly what my compulsions and rituals are and why I do some of the things that I do. And I have not talked about this before, and I want to see if anybody else has some of the same symptoms, rituals, and compulsions that I have. And I want you to comment and let me know if you've experienced any of these things, because I haven't really heard anybody talk about some of the compulsions and rituals that I do. But I'm going to tell you about them, and you're going to be able to take a look into the madness of my world. Okay? But before I tell you, I just want to say that this journey for me is lifelong, and that I am on a journey right now that I've been telling you about in other videos. You can take a look. I have my video about losing weight and getting off my anxiety medication. Take a look at it. I'm also weaning myself off of my last medication. And I also have my video about using supplements and using that instead of medication for my anxiety and OCD. You should go look at it. I actually feel better taking the supplements than I did when I was taking the medication. Both are good videos. They tell you about my journey. They tell you about what I'm doing and what I'm not. I'm not on medication anymore. I am trying to explore natural things to help myself. So there are a lot of things that I'm doing. Oh my goodness. I am doing hypnosis, subliminals, supplements, all kinds of things that I'm trying to really get on the road to wellness as far as health. Also spiritually, I'm doing a lot of things there, and I'm going to do a whole video about that too, talking about my spiritual journey. But let me get to my compulsions and rituals, okay? So I have contamination OCD, I have numbers OCD, and I have harm OCD. So what is contamination OCD? Well, it's different for different people. Most people think it's washing, right? And I do wash my hands a lot, but it's not usually because I think they're dirty, not in the sense of actual literally dirty, like I touched something dirty. Mostly my contamination deals with clothing and washing my hands because of thoughts, horrible thoughts that I have that are OCD thoughts, the intrusive thoughts that happen because of OCD. OCD is what? Obsessive-Compulsive disorder. You have obsessive thoughts. You do a compulsion because you're trying to do something to control those thoughts or make those thoughts right or control the anxiety in your body. So my contamination OCD, my rituals and compulsions have to do with clothing a lot. And it's not that I think the clothing is dirty or that I've touched something dirty. It's that I will have maybe a horrible thought in a particular type of clothing, and then I don't want to wear it anymore because I associate that clothing with that bad thought. Or to take it even further, if I am in a bad experience in those clothing, maybe I saw something that was traumatic, or I felt something traumatic, or I was in a traumatic situation, wearing those clothing, I wouldn't wear them anymore. I would put them aside, and probably I would have a hard time washing them with my other clothing, because in my mind, I'm thinking they are contaminated, but not dirty, but more as far as what I felt or experienced in those clothing. And I'm going to tell you how far that goes, okay? I have worn clothing to a funeral, and then those are my funeral clothes. I'm not wearing those clothes anywhere else. And if you don't have OCD and you're watching this video, you're probably like, what the heck? Well, that's what I say to myself too. But that's what I do to calm my anxiety. Because if I wore those clothes again to something else, then I'd be thinking and associating those clothes with the bad feelings that I had at funerals, or the bad feelings that I had in that bad situation, right? And so now I'm going into a new situation where I want to feel good. And I'm like, I'm not wearing those clothes because I didn't feel good when I wore those clothes. And I associate those thoughts and those things and that experience with those clothes. Does anybody else have that? I have yet to see anybody talk about clothing contamination OCD. Am I the only one? My next compulsion ritual is associated with washing my hands. This is also associated with thoughts because obviously I have OCD, and the biggest part of OCD is the intrusive, horrible thoughts. Nobody's talking about their thoughts really that much, I don't think. I'm not talking about mine because, first of all, I don't want to trigger anybody, and second of all, it's too painful. But just know that they are horrible and they are intrusive and that they make you feel awful. There was a time when it made me feel like an awful person. And because I would feel that way, and that would make me feel anxious, really bad fear, anxiety, all of those things connected to those thoughts. For me, I felt the only way to feel right about those thoughts or to move to the next thing after those thoughts was to wash my hands. Not because I touched something dirty, although I do that too, depending, but usually because of thoughts. So that happens to me on a daily basis. I might be looking at something on my phone, reading something, watching something on TV that is disturbing to me or that triggers those thoughts, and I will get up and go wash my hands. Now, I don't wash for a long time most of the time. I just wash and then I come back. And for me, I felt like I did something about it. Now, obviously, if you're not an OCD sufferer, then you're thinking, how does that make it right for you? It just, I don't know how to explain it. It calms the anxiety and fear inside of me. And it makes me feel like I did something about it. And if I don't do it, then I feel like I didn't do something about it. You understand? Probably not. But if you have OCD and you're an OCD sufferer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that is my contamination OCD. And that affects me a lot sometimes because, as you know, with OCD, sometimes the thoughts are just coming, just popping up out of nowhere. And you're like, and so there are times when I'm out at a store or shopping or something, and then I will dismiss myself to go wash my hands because I don't like that thought. I didn't like that thought I just had. So that's a part of the contamination OCD. And then the clothing OCD, which is the clothing contamination. I also have numbers OCD, okay? And that is really intrusive in my life, honestly. It just really annoys me. Like, I'm counting and I have good numbers and I have bad numbers. I'm not telling you the good numbers and I'm not telling you the bad numbers because I'm not going to give them any more weight in my life than they already have in my mind. If you have OCD numbers out there, you're probably going to have different symptoms than me. This is why OCD is so misconceived, I think, because everybody thinks that everybody's suffering from the same thing. We're just washing our hands and straightening things, and that ain't true. There are many types of compulsions and rituals connected to OCD thoughts, and everybody does something different, and everybody's journey is different. So I'm telling you my rituals and compulsions to share, to show you that although I get up here and do these videos and I tell you about my journey, that it's hard, daily, that it's a struggle to just keep going. And sometimes you just become so used to it. You just get up and do the day-to-day grind of it all. But back to my numbers OCD, counting things, bad numbers, good numbers. I associate bad numbers and good numbers. Basically, it's really hard and complicated to explain because my mind has created things to help me deal with the thoughts. So counting is one of them. I have good numbers that are associated with good things or things that are stable and balanced in my life. And then I have bad thoughts that are associated with bad situations, circumstances, traumatic events that have happened. And so what do? If I have a bad or traumatic experience and I have to wash my hands, I wash on a bad number because I don't want the good number associated with that event. Makes no sense to people out there who don't have OCD, and maybe if you have OCD and you don't have this type, you wouldn't understand it, but that's what I do. So here's what happens. If I have a good number, then I use it. And I use it whenever I'm feeling good in good situations. And if I'm going to buy something or do something, then I always make sure that I wash on that number. I never leave the house on a bad number, so I always wash on a good number. If I have a bad situation or I just experienced something really bad, I might exit the room a few times, like to leave it on a bad number. I don't know how much to describe this. It's so much, but that's what I do. And a lot of people, if I tell them these things, they are like, how do you get through the day? Well, you know, if you're an OCD person who's been suffering for a long time, they just kind of become seamless in your day. You just kind of go from moment to moment doing those things, and they're just right in the middle of everything that you do, and you just do them seamlessly because you become so accustomed to it. And you've become so used to counting, washing, checking, and whatever else you do, that it's just a part of your normal routine of the day. So the last OCD that I suffer from is harm OCD. And I'm not going to talk a whole lot about harm OCD. I'm just going to tell you it's horrible. I hate it. It's awful. If you suffer from harm OCD, I'm not going to even bring anything up here because I'm not going to trigger you. But when I say that it's terrible, trust me, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And it's something that I'm still struggling with right now, that I am trying to find good ways to heal myself and move forward. So harm OCD is basically associated with just what it says, harming. Yes, harming. And honestly, I can't talk about that anymore. Sorry, I would love to share it, but not possible for me right now. And that is the journey of wellness. There are sometimes things that you have conquered, and there's sometimes things that you say, I'm still working on that. And if you suffer from any of these, please comment, please like, please subscribe, please come over here. Oh my gosh, I said I wasn't going to cry in this video, but you know, that's the journey of it all, right? Some things make us feel elated and feel like we have conquered the situation, and some things make us feel like, wow, I have so far to go. And I just want to share that because I don't want people to think that, you know, people see you and they think you've got it together because you get up every day and you put on your makeup and you put on your clothes and you go out into the world and you try your best, and they just see that good front face forward, but they don't see the insides and how you hurt and how you feel when you are at your darkest moments. And for people who out there who are suffering from OCD and anxiety, trust me, I know it's hard. It's really hard. But what I want to tell you is that getting well and taking charge of your mental health will make you feel empowered. It's a journey, and you have to take it a day at a time. It's not something you can just stomp out all at once, right? You need to have a plan of wellness where you're taking care of yourself, where you're eating correctly, where you're getting exercise, where you are taking your meds if you have medication. If you are not into medication, maybe experimenting with supplements. Try some things to help yourself, support your body, and then doing the work to try to get better. And I have a video about compulsions and rituals. You should check it out. How I deal with those, how I try to stop those in their tracks. So please, if you are suffering, share your experience, share your compulsions and rituals if you feel safe and if you feel okay to do that. Comment, come over here and encourage. We all need encouragement. I need it. So please join, subscribe, encourage, like, come back. I'm going to get more into this, into the journey of wellness. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Take care of yourself.